We have an early edition of Boy Green Daily here, NFL Combine Week, special draft guest. Let's freaking go.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for joining us. We're here, this is an interesting mix. So every Monday, we're a little earlier than normal. We normally start right at 7 o'clock to help out our guest. And then I was late to being early, which I'm technically still early for, but I'm late for the early appointment that I was. Mixing Jets duty and dad duty. It's quite a job. I deserve a medal or some sort of prize, but it's a cross I bear. And here we are. Let's bring in our special guest. His name is Drew Beatty at Iron City Film Baby, who makes similar sacrifices in the world of NFL draft preparations. Good morning, Drew.
Morning, Paul. How we doing?
Not too shabby. It's great to be alive. I'm happy I woke up this morning, and hopefully I've got still a few more of those left in me. That's the goal, pal. Is waking up tomorrow morning. But we'll take it day by day, my friend. And one thing we will take is MFC gifting a Boy Green Coffee Club membership right off the top rope. Let's go. Beautiful. That membership, by the way, went to J275W. You are now a member of the Boy Green Coffee Club and MFC. Beautiful. Have 12 raffle tickets to our contest this month. Thank you so much, as always, for the support. So for today's show, Drew, I know for a bunch of these episodes, we've done mock drafts. We've done positional breakdowns, getting, hot and heavy with a certain position of Jets interest. And who are the top guys, the sleepers to this? With it being NFL Combine Week, it would, just feel out of place not to talk about the Combine and some of the prospects that could blow the top off there in Indianapolis, and thus their draft stock change. And then a week from today, we'll do a post-combine mock draft. It's been too long. We got to pay the bills, so we got to get one of those mock drafts in there that people love so much.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll get into it. But, Drew, what's the NFL Combine mean for you? We've talked about this before, sort of with the Senior Bowl, that you do all this prep on the draft prospects, and then there are these tentpole events, and the Combine certainly feels like one of them. How do you look at the Combine? Do you circle it on the calendar? And what does it mean ultimately to you as a draft analyst?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, obviously, the most important part of it to me, honestly, is as far as information goes. It's just measurements, like getting to see finalized, confirmed measurements on these guys' height, weight, arm length, hand size, all of these things that they don't seem that important. But really, when you focus, like you can hear some wildly ranging numbers throughout the year because of how many teams can just straight up lie about this stuff. So getting confirmed measurements huge. Just from a fan and sort of insider information standpoint, like it's the combine is really where you start to hear things take shape as far as draft plans go, and like you can hear what teams may actually do with some validity behind it. For example, like the Jets, Arvell Reese, David Bailey debate that we've really seemed to narrow it down to at this point. I think you're going to come out of Indianapolis with a much more clear idea of who's the front runner between that debate, if I had to guess.
Okay.
And obviously the athletic testing is what everybody's looking at. The 40-yard dash times are always fun. They're the fun event. I think they're wildly overrated, and I don't really factor them into my evaluation nearly as much as some people do. I think 10-yard splits and 3-cone drills and more the agility testing is more what I look at rather than just straight 40 times or some of the other more flashy drills. But ultimately, I just trust the kind of athletes I see on film rather than what I see at the combine. But it's nice to see some confirmations on guys I thought were good athletes, see them test well, that kind of stuff. But overall, I mean, yes, it was just kind of the benchmark event of when draft season is really kicking into full swing. And it's always one of the most fun events on the draft calendar to me.
If you guys have questions for Drew Beatty on certain combine prospects, we have a list of guys that we're going to talk about that, again, Drew believes, their draft stock is whatever it is right now, and by the end of the combine week, that it will skyrocket. It has a chance to, based on how they perform in Indy. If you guys have prospects you want to make sure is guaranteed talked about here on the show, feel free to super chat those in, and we'll break up the conversation to get some of those in there. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the money sign, and the super chat option there is featured. We'll try to work in some of those questions and maybe even open up the phone line so Drew can take on some of you crazy callers before we get out of here. We'll see what happens with that. There's a lot of names on this list here, Drew Beatty, and a lot of variety of positions. But I want to talk about the guy, and the name has stood out to me because I've seen a lot of pub on this guy. I enjoyed the combine coverage. I love watching it. Shout out to Daniel Jeremiah and Rich Eisen, and quite frankly, their entire team that go to the Charles Davis desk and everywhere else for the combine. But when a record can be broken like the 40-yard dash, that is scintillating. That is exciting to see Xavier Worthy do it. We're all on the edge of our seat about it. Oh, that was such a cool moment. And there's a name on this list, and I've heard people talk about this, but I know you tell me the truth, Drew. You don't lie to me. You shoot it to me straight. Is there a name from the combine that I'm currently looking at that you sent me in a message that I'm remembering? You didn't say this in the message, but I'm just saying I've seen it a lot of other places.
Yeah.
And I'm curious.
I know where you're headed.
If you feel the same way, is there an individual that has a chance to break the 40-yard dash record, or is that all huff and puff?
I don't think so, honestly. I think it's going to be, you're going to have somebody, put up a fair fight. And I think the guy you're headed towards is Mississippi State receiver Brennan Thompson.
Yeah,
is somebody like Dane Brugler has mentioned him. I know Field Yates has mentioned him a lot. Like, he's a guy that a lot of draft media has caught on to, especially in the past month. And I got to him. I'm not claiming to be like the first guy on him or anything. I got to him a little bit earlier, but just somebody you pick up along the process. And he is, he's 5'9", 170. So you'd hope that he brings you some major athletic tools to the table, because size is not really going to be where he wins at the combine. But he is really, really twitchy. Certainly, I would say the fastest player in this class, at least in the receiver class. And I would firmly expect him to run 4.2s. I think you're going to see a 4.2 from him, but I don't think that you're going to see him challenge Worthy's record. I expect him more in the mid to high 4.2 range, probably like 4.27. If I had to put a guess in, I'd say 4.27 is where I end up on Thompson.
So it's not close, because Xavier Worthy's, I had to double
check. He was what, 4.19?
4.21.
4.21.
That was set in 2024. So 4.21. Yeah. And the previous record was 4.22. John Ross III had that in 2017. So you don't think he's going to get anywhere close to that?
He might get like 4.24, 4.25 with a really good time, but I don't know if I can expect him to get low 4.2s. That just seems like a little bit of a stretch. He's really fast, but I don't think he has that extra gear that Worthy had.
Okay. I guess sometimes we talk about, game speed and this speed. Now, this isn't a game, but maybe if you feel the momentum in the building, maybe there's some made up magical burst that you could potentially have. And you said you were one of the first ones on him. So there's probably some award off screen that you deserve for that, Mr. Drew Beatty. What's his draft stock heading into this? And why do you believe? Because the whole point of this show in particular is to highlight guys that their draft stock happens to be insert wherever that is, but you believe there could be some rocket fuel attached to this thing based on what happens here in Indy this week.
Yeah, I think like right now, I think he's still like in the 120s on the consensus board or something. Okay. But Brugler's tweeted it before. I think that he's probably already in day 2 range for most NFL teams, and I think he's especially after the combine, he'll be firmly in that top 50, top 75 range. I'd be surprised to see him fall out of like the early 3rd at worst.
And does the size scare you? Because who's the other guy? I don't know if this is going to be one for. I don't have his heights and measurables in front of me, but it's in my brain. Tutu Atwell. Like I don't know how he favors size.
Yeah, I think he was around the same size. He was like 2 inches shorter and maybe like 10 pounds lighter, so generally in the same range.
Yeah, 165, 5'9", I see. Okay, interesting.
Okay, so they're both 5'9". Yeah, I think that's a comp that I've heard a lot of people throw out. I think it's an interesting one. I comped him to Greg Dortch, who's a little bit about the same
human
size.
Dortch.
They're very very similar players too. Yeah. I mean, they all fit that kind of same mold where they're just really small, kind of frail, rail thin burners, but their main profile is just their speed. I think that when you have a 5'9", 170 receiver, it worries you to a certain extent, for sure.
Right.
But I think he has the skill set to make it work. He's as good of a separator as you can want in that frame. I think he's nuanced. He's technically advanced. He knows how to look for blind spots too, which kind of helps mask that because he doesn't end up at fights at the catch point very often, which is what you have to do when you're 5'9", 170 because you're not winning a lot of battles at the catch point when you're that small.
Right.
So I think he's good at picking spots where he doesn't have to end up in battles at the catch point. So I think he's learned how to adapt and evolve and win with the frame that he has. But yeah, he's not a guy that I want in jump ball situations very often. But I think he's adapted to survive and has the skill set to make it with that frame.
Okay, let's go to another receiver. This is a sexy receiver in Jets land when we're talking about receivers, not first round picks, but like receivers that could go at a different point perhaps. And you tell me, I guess, what his stock is. Let's go with the Tennessee receiver, Chris. Is it Brazel or Brazel or what is it?
Brazel, I think, is what I mean.
Brazel. Thank you. Yes, there.
It's funny you say that because this is a guy that I'm ashamed to have not gotten around to finalizing until this past week.
All right.
And now there's a couple of guys that I've thrown out as my guys so far.
Yeah.
But I think if I had to pick the top of that list, the guy I'm most high on compared to consensus, it might be Chris Brazel. And he is currently my wide receiver 3. And I'm tempted to bump him up to 2. He's right next to Mekhi Lemon on my board, and I think it's a tough battle between him and Lemon, honestly. He is firmly a mid first round grade for me. And I don't understand what there's not to like with Chris Brazel. He doesn't give you much after the catch. So that's the one big hang up that I'll give people. There's not much juice as a runner with the ball in his hands. But as a pure receiver, I'm not really sure what Chris Brazel doesn't do at a great level.
Okay.
You've got
I just have to say this real quick. I am never doing this ever again for any of these prospects where I'm like, obviously this guy isn't a first round guy, or obviously this guy isn't a this round. I'm an idiot. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. I think, he's certainly not in the first round consistently in mocks. He's not, I wouldn't say consensus first round right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if post combine he ends up in late first round talks. I am way higher than consensus on him. But you've got a guy who's 6'5", 200 pounds. So, I mean, small for that size, but still 6'5". He is, I would say, going to run in the low 4.4s, maybe high 4.3s with a good time. So still a very, very good athlete, great long speed. But what makes me so high on him, and it's part of, I talked about Ted Hurst too, the Georgia State receiver, who we'll talk about a little bit later too on this list. But what makes me so high on these guys is when you have these big frame receivers, but they can also be fluid while being these huge frame and also great athletes in terms of long speed. Brazel, I mean, it's like hyper fluidity is the best way I can describe it. I've never seen a player in his size be as fluid as he is. The level of hip sync and just fluidity that he has to be able to sink into breaks and go from 60 to 0 at the size he is wild. I've never really seen a player as big as him do it like he does. So that's what gives me so much confidence in him translating to the next level. But then you also add into the fact that he is just a threat at the catch point. Like the ball tracking downfield is awesome. He plays like he's 6'5" at the catch point. He knows how to play basketball. He'll post people up and really just body smaller corners. So again, pass not really having much with the ball in his hands. Like the yak threat's not really there. But everything else in a receiver, I think Chris Brazel is great at.
So, do you have I don't know if it's off camera. Do you have a small basket of gifts to give people when they catch up to a prospect that you've been on for a while? Like when they finally get there, you're like, oh, wow, congratulations. Hello. Welcome to the club. Do you have anything to give people?
I haven't gotten around to that yet just because, unfortunately, there's not many guys that I get to that. And again, I got to Brazel so late that I should be the one, probably other people should be giving me that.
Yeah.
But,
good point.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while you'll get one of those, but generally I don't really like when people victory lap on getting to people early. I think that people just have to watch at their own pace. And I'm still not even to 100 guys watched on my board. So there's a lot of guys I haven't gotten to yet.
How many will you get to by the time the draft gets here?
I would like to get to 200. We'll see if that happens or not, just because, I can really, like, right now I'm in full swing. Like, I'm knocking out, 10 plus prospects a week. But for a while there, when I'm still doing, Titan stuff during the season, as long as draft stuff, it's slow. It's a slow start there at the beginning. But when you hit this kind of stride, you can start knocking out more.
All right. You hinted at him. Let's go to him. You mentioned him during the Senior Bowl week too. What about Ted Hurst, the Georgia State wide receiver?
Yeah, Ted Hurst has been one of my favorite guys. He is one that I might could end up on the earlier side on if I wanted to hang my hat on one of these prospects. He has been one of my favorite players in the Soul Cycle from the very beginning. He's 6'3", came in at 207 at the Senior Bowl, which was a lot bigger than I thought he was going to. But he's another one of these guys that's just super big frame receiver with just hyper fluid hips. I think he's a great athlete. He's somebody in a big body that gives you a lot after the catch. I think he's somebody with a pretty diverse yak skill set. He's also amazing at the catch point. Just looks like a veteran too, with the late hands, really strong hands, just crazy body control for his size. I've compared him to George Pickens a lot. I think he looks a lot stylistically like George Pickens. He's another guy that I think you see run a really impressive time for a bigger frame guy. Probably, I've heard him, in the summer time between like 4.37 and 4.44. So I would think you see him more between that high 4.3, low 4.4 range. And I think he's somebody that you just see really do well in the agility drills. And I think he firmly puts himself in the day 2 conversation after the combine.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So some pass catchers, Jets are always looking for those. So that'd be great. I'm going to go to a name on this list. I just Googled this because, I was going to ask you, Drew, but I didn't want to feel like an idiot. But now I'm saying it all anyway. There's a guy on this list named R. Mason Thomas. And when I saw R. Mason Thomas, I thought, why is there just a magical letter floating out at the top of his name? What does that mean? Is that like an obvious thing that we're not supposed to talk about? And I hit it with a Google search. Apparently, the internet says that he has a first letter name because his mother wanted to honor a family tradition of R names, including her father, grandfather, and brother, without giving him a common R name like Richard or Raymond. The R doesn't stand for anything. And his first name is legally just the letter R followed by Mason. So let's go to apparently R. Mason Thomas.
I actually didn't know that. I'd seen that name floating around. I thought it was kind of more like a nickname type thing. I didn't realize that his legal first name was actually R. So, learn something new every day.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, R. Mason Thomas is another guy that is kind of floated around in this day 2, early day 2 edge bucket, with the Zion Youngs of like Missouri and that kind of group that we've heard. I think he's a guy that really has a chance to kind of punch into the back of round 1, where like it may be in that Patriots pick at 30. Their team that needs edge. There's a couple of teams in the back end of the first round that are going to need to reach on an edge, just because I think that as deep as we've heard this class is, I think most of them fit into kind of the late day 2, early day 3 bucket instead of that kind of top 50 range.
Interesting.
So I think that there's some teams in the back end of the first round that if they want an edge, they're going to have to reach for one. And R. Mason Thomas is one of the top candidates for that, in my opinion. He's only 250 pounds, so on the smaller, or right under that, I think is what he measured in at Oklahoma. So on the smaller side, but one of the fastest, most athletic edge rushers in this class. I mean, the first step is wicked. He's got some burners off the ball, really flexible, one of the bendiest guys in this class. He can really get low. I think he's got violent hands, really active all the time. So he's going to be kind of your more stereotypical speed rusher that's got the flexibility and the flexible ankles and the burst and the first step off the line. But not a guy you're going to really rely on in run defense, kind of in the Will McDonald role that we've talked about a lot with the DPRs this year. So I don't really know if the Jets are in the market to add another DPR, especially this early in this class. But if they don't address edge in round 1, which I expect them to, but if for whatever reason they don't, and they're looking for one on early day 2, if he makes it there, I think R. Mason Thomas could end up being a solid addition after, because I think I expect him again to be. Edge rushers are a special. Like the NFL values 40 times in athletic testing, a lot more than I do at every position, but especially at edge rusher. Edge rusher you see probably matter the most of any position when it comes to athletic testing. Mm-hmm. So when you see edge rushers, like you saw Nolan Smith, just to use a random example out of Georgia, was that 2 years ago now? Run a 4.4, like a low 4.4 at edge rusher. I mean, that skyrocketed him all the way up into the first round. So when you see any edge rusher running the 4.4s, even when they're on the smaller side, they're a speed rusher, and you expect them to have that level of athleticism. When you see an edge rusher running the 4.4s, like that just pops NFL executives' eyes. So R. Mason Thomas, I expect him to run on the 4.4s, maybe low 4.5s, and you'll see him skyrocket after that, I think.
That still blows my mind. I am 32 years old. I turned 33 in April. And, being an NFL draft fan my entire life, I remember what the bar used to be for pass rushers in the 40-yard dash, and it was here. And now we fast forward however many years later now, like, 4.4. And you're just like, what? 4.4? Like, that's crazy. Like, that's supposed to be running backs and wide receivers and all these other things. And now that we have it as pass rushers, I mean, yikes. To be a quarterback in today's day and age, yikes. You have those aliens and predators running after you. Jesus, good Lord have mercy. That's wild. This defense we've talked a lot about, the Texas Tech defense. We talked about them with a variety of players, and for good reason, and we will throughout this draft. One that needs a little bit more love is Romello Heights. So what can you tell us about this young man heading into Combine Week?
Yeah, Romello Height, it's going to end up actually sounding a lot similar to what I just said about our Mason Thomas. I think they're probably the two day two edge rushers that I feel good about actually surviving as speed rushers in the NFL, because I think they both have the flexibility and bend that it takes to come with being a speed rusher.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Romello Height might be the bendiest guy in this class if I had to pick one. Okay. Which, he's a guy that probably the worst run defender that I've watched of this edge group. Like, you don't want this guy on early downs at all in the NFL level. There's sometimes where it seems like he's actively trying to do the most detrimental thing possible on a run play. But again, I mean, he makes up for it as a pass rusher. He's on the smaller end. Only I think he's like mid 230s, or was at Texas Tech. So the weight measurement's going to be interesting for him because he came in light at Texas Tech. But again, crazy burst, awesome first step. He knows how to bend around the arc. He's got the flexible ankles. He can really get low to the ground. And he's a really diverse pass rusher. He's somebody that is on the older end. He's bounced around teams a lot, but he's got the technical kind of prowess that comes with that. He's got a very flushed out pass rush plan, a lot of pass rush moves in his bag. Mm-hmm. So that's something that in the other Texas Tech edge rusher, David Bailey, that we talked about a lot with the Jets too. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest issue with him, is just a lack of bend for a speed rusher, and why I'm kind of hung up with him. But I think you're going to see, like, we won't talk about Arvell Reese or David Bailey in this list because we've talked about them ad nauseum already, and they're kind of solidified as top players in this class already. But you're going to see David Bailey, like, however high the league is and in general draft media is on him now, when he comes in with 35-inch arms and runs like a low 4.4, teams and media are going to be so exponentially higher on him. People are going to be talking about him as, like, the best edge rusher in multiple classes, I think, because of the recency bias that happens from the combine like this. So if you want a good litmus test for what a great combine can do to an already, widely considered top prospect in a class, watch David Bailey after this combine.
So what you're really saying is that Jet fans get used to more David Bailey mock drafts, because we have the number 1 overall pick of all the non-quarterbacks. So David Bailey to the Jets starts picking up even more steam, you think?
Yeah, I think at post-combine that Bailey's going to emerge as a clear favorite at 2, if I had to take a wild guess now. Now, that's not based on any insider information. I don't know anything. Yeah. But just if I had to guess, edge rushers that come in with his length measurements and run the 40 time that he's going to run in this class probably don't fall below 2.
Again, we're speaking with our buddy Drew Beatty, baby, at Iron City Film, our NFL draft guru extraordinaire, here on a special Monday early episode of Boy Green Daily. Again, we'll have these early episodes all the way through the draft, so hopefully you guys can continue to jump on with us. Make sure you guys like the video if you're watching on YouTube, and hit subscribe as we continue our chase to 10,000 subscribers. I see we have super chats coming in and more questions, so if you have questions or super chats, throw them in. I'm putting them aside for Drew, and we'll catch up to them after we're going through this process here. So I will circle back to him, I promise, folks. So make sure you keep submitting those in. Another edge rusher here, Drew Beatty, Joshua Josephs.
Yeah, Joshua Josephs out of Tennessee is one of the more fun ones that I had kind of an asterisk next to on this list because I haven't talked about him yet. He's another guy that I didn't get around to until my pre-combine watch this week.
Yeah,
and he's a weird evaluation because he is another guy with really long arms. I think he's going to come in with, 34.5 inches was probably the measurement that floated around for a while. So he's somebody on the much longer end when it comes to arm length at edge rusher. Only 240 pounds. So the weight, he's really on the lighter end, especially for a guy that long. So he's got a weird build. But when you watch him, he has some of the craziest get off in this class. Like, he is flying off the line of scrimmage. So very, very, very similar to the conversation to David Bailey. To me, they are very similar players, where you've got two guys with crazy first step, crazy burst upfield, just awesome straight line speed, really long frame, but both have just kind of a worrying lack of power to me. Where, as cool as the athletic traits are with Josephs, like, again, 34.5-inch arms, crazy. Like, I think he's another 4.4 candidate in the edge range. I think he's going to run a lot faster than people think. But ultimately, I think he's a better run defender too than he gets credit for, even being that light. I think he knows how to use his length better in run defense than some other guys in this class. But I just worry about his way. Same conversation with Bailey. I worry about what his true path to success is as an NFL pass rusher, because he's 240 pounds and not strong enough to really win with power at the NFL level. and he's crazy fast, especially for his length, but he's not really flexible or bendy enough to win around the corner at the NFL level. So if you can't win around a guy and you can't win through a guy, how are you really going to win at the NFL level? So ultimately, that's my hang up with guys like him and guys like David Bailey and guys in that bucket. But again, length and speed are what NFL teams care about at edge rusher. So when you see Joshua Josephs come in with the length that he has and run the 40 time, I think he's going to run. I think he's a guy that shoots up into top 75, maybe even top 50 conversation after the combine, being an early day 3 guy right now. So I think Josephs has the potential to be one of the biggest risers from the combine this week.
Hey, that's what the show's all about, baby. Let's keep it in the edge rusher bucket. Malachi Lawrence at a UCF.
Yeah, Malachi Lawrence is another guy that I'm way, way higher on the consensus. He's one of my favorite edge rushers in this whole class. I'm generally pretty low on this edge group overall, but Lawrence has been a fun find in this one because he's a guy that also awesome length. It had been rumored that this is a perfect example, actually, of measurement talk while we're on it, because he had been rumored to have 35-inch arms for a long time. UCF had said he had 35-inch arms for a long time. And then you see him get to the Shrine Bowl when he measures them with 33.5-inch arms, which, you think an inch and a half, that's not that big of a difference. When it comes to arm length, it is in the NFL. So that's just a great example of how important these verified measurements are and how easily some teams can lie about it. But even the 33.5-inch arms, that's still above average length for an edge rusher. He plays like he has long length. He's an awesome straight line athlete for a power rusher. He's a guy that with that length, he's got some awesome burst up field. Again, really stiff. This class is just full of stiff rushers. These guys don't bend very well. That's why I think R. Mason Thomas and Romello Height are going to be some more of hot commodities in this class because they're two of the guys with real bend compared to the rest of this class that I think is more on the stiff end. But Malachi Lawrence has some awesome power for a 250-something pound frame. He's one of the few guys, I think, I had a unique note on him in my my notes. He can kind of cold start a bull rush. And what I mean by that is like a lot of these power rushers, they need kind of a runway to build up momentum before they start their speed to power or their bull rush or whatever to run through a tackle's chest. Mm-hmm. He's one of the few guys that I've seen can actually start a bull rush with really no momentum and still run through a tackle's chest, which at 250-something pounds is really impressive to me. I think he's one of the better run defenders in this class. And I think you're going to see him run an impressive 40 for a power rusher. And with his length, I think you see him jump again firmly into the day 2 conversation. And people are going to see Malachi Lawrence go a lot higher than where he's being mocked right now. Because you're seeing him get mocked on the PFF simulator in like the round 5, round 6. He's one of those guys that I think PFF hasn't gotten around to yet. I haven't watched. And he just ends up lower on the board. And post-combine, maybe when Trevor Sikkema gets to watch him and grade him, he'll be, top 50, top 75 player after that.
Let me ask you this. A couple of follow-ups here. When you are higher than consensus, for people who don't know, consensus, it sort of is the definitions. When everyone, when you put everyone's big boards and everything together, consensus is where this player is on that board and sort of what the majority feels. But obviously there are people that may have a player who's, I'm making this up, 100, but one person has them 50. Like, whoa, there's a sizable gap here. And you said for this player, Malachi Lawrence, you are higher than consensus. When you do that, I assume you go through your own process. You're not really looking at other people's big boards. And then you go through your stuff and you start putting it out there. And then you come across someone else's or the consensus big board. Like, holy crap, I'm way higher. What do you do when that happens? Do you say to yourself, like, hey, like you're even more convicted that you're higher? Does it make you concerned? Like, oh, man, do I need to go back and watch? If everyone says he's 100, I'd say it's 50. Maybe something's off here. Like, what goes through your mind when you are higher or lower than consensus on a player?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's something that really, like, when you see the group think, and like if everybody else is just screaming that a guy is really good or really bad, and I'm way off opinion, it makes you second guess yourself a lot. And this isn't relevant to the Jets because obviously you have your bookend tackle duo of the future.
Right.
But a great example of this is Francis Mauigoa out of Miami, the consensus top tackle in this draft class, is somebody that I've been kind of late day 2, mid day 2 on for a while. I just think he's firmly average. I don't think he's a bad player, but I'm not sure I've really seen like first round level hype out of him. And everybody, including like fans who really aren't dedicated staple watchers, all the way to the Dane Brulers and all of draft media that I really respect as evaluators, all seem to be convinced he's a top 10 caliber pick. And I've never seen it. So that's the best example of somebody that I have to keep constantly going back to and questioning myself on. But ultimately, I mean, as an evaluator, you just have to stick to your guns and trust your own eyes and trust your evaluation process. So I do, but yeah, certainly when you see consensus be way off of where you are, it makes you second guess yourself a lot.
All right, I had another follow-up, but I lost it somewhere in my big brain, so hopefully it comes back to me before I'm dead. All right, let's get a couple other ones in here, then we'll get to all the super chats and questions that are coming in here from the fans. What about Blake Miller? Let's get, again, the Jets have their offensive tackles in place, but let's go to Blake Miller at Clemson.
Yeah, for sure. Not a guy that I expect to be on the Jets' radar, but a player that he's actually my current offensive tackle 1, which again, a great example of what you were talking about. Feels crazy because I haven't seen anybody else do that. But I don't have a first round grade on an offensive tackle in this class. Blake Miller is my highest graded tackle with an early second round grade. So not a fan of this tackle class in general. Again, just even more proof that I think the Jets came out of the draft amazing with Mimbo last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, Blake Miller is just kind of the best combination of size and athleticism. And I think pound for pound, he might be the best athlete in this whole class, being the size he is and how he moves. I think at Clemson this year, you really never saw him hit his top gear because he just never had to use it at offensive tackle. So I think seeing him test at his size, see him run the way he does, he's going to be a crazy RAS score guy, which if you don't know, RAS is relative athletic score. It's a guy that has made kind of a formula, so you could say. And he has a website too where you can go check it out for yourself, but he just combines all of the size and athletic testing and it gives them a score between 1 and 10 for what kind of athlete they are. And every year there's a couple of 10.0 RAS guys, and that's like the best of the best athletes in the whole class. And like last year, Nick Emenworry, the safety who you saw be awesome for Seattle, he was the 10.0 RAS guy. And I think Blake Miller has a chance to be that guy this year. He is one of the best raw athletes in this class. My favorite tackle. Super just raw, crazy athlete. I'm excited to see him move.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Anytime you can explain some of these things like RAS to the majority of my fans, they may not know what that means. So that's good. So I appreciate that on the informational there. One last name on this. This is a name that's appeared in some Jets mock drafts. The artist known as Big Citrus, Dominique Orange here out of Iowa State.
Yeah, Big Citrus. He's the guy that I think I mocked in my first mock back here on this draft season. He is one of my favorite defensive tackles in this class, and I know the Jets are in a market for one after losing Quentin Williams.
Yes.
And I think he is absolutely one of the best athletes at defensive tackle in this class, being 330 pounds, and I think he's every bit of that. He might come in a little bit heavier than that at this combine. Really long arms, and he looks like he's floating. Like he's just constantly moving around with his toes on the field. He's got a rare level of agility and lateral agility when it comes to the size he is, and I think that's a really valuable trait in a defensive tackle. Being able to play, you hear gap and a half a lot, and that just means being able to play more than just your assignment. You got to be able to close up more than just your gap on the interior. And I think obviously strength and anchor and all the stuff that comes with run defense is important. And any tackle being talked about this high should have that. That's kind of a given. But I think it really helps you cover the whole gap and a half thing when you were as light on your feet as Orange is. And so I don't know how much I love like the straight line burst is gonna be. So I don't know how well it's gonna translate to a 40 time. But I think when you watch him in like the cone drills where you get to see the lateral athleticism and how flexible they are, that's where you're going to see Orange shine. And I think that he is a guy that is going to come out, with a big boost from the combine, this combine. And he's just a guy that I expect to test really, really well.
All right. Well, that's a position the Jets will certainly be looking for. All right, folks, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to answer a few super chats here. We'll answer some other questions of interest from some of the Boy Green Coffee Club members and people in the audience. And then we'll open up the phone lines. We'll try to squeeze in a few of those before Drew Beatty has to dip. So let's get a couple of these super chats in. Lou B, Super Jets fan, baby.
Wow.
I'm sure Drew knows him as well, as do I. Trevor Sikkema and the PFF team are a big piece of the PFF simulators, the mock drafts, the big boards you guys are talking about, and the big boards and mock drafts and their mock draft machines sort of are, they're a baby together. That sort of is how it's all set up. So, yes, I can absolutely confirm. I was texting with Trevor about something else recently, but yes, the combine results, I don't know. I'm sure it won't be instantaneous, but give them a little bit of time to assess what happened with the combine, and they will be updating the rankings, which obviously will then affect the mock draft simulation. So again, sort of what Drew was talking about with certain players who may right now be, oh, wow, I'm getting them in the 5th or 6th round. And then the combine happens, you're like, whoa, they're in the 3rd round. So yes, absolutely it will. I don't know if you have anything more to chime on this, Drew, but I can confirm for the people I know at PFF that will absolutely be changing.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Really, most of the PFF draft simulators rankings are from Trevor's personal board, and I'm sure he's human like the rest of us. He hasn't watched all 400 players that are in the simulator or whatever the number is. So he'll get to everybody who's the combine risers, and rankings will change on there for sure.
So well said here, Luby. Thank you for the question. And yes, again, they will update, and quite frankly, at all the events, pro days, all the other informational pieces that come through will be a part of that big board that's coming through. Another super chat here from Luby, Super Jets fan.
Wow.
By the way, Luby, you're up to 12 raffle tickets for our contest. Thank you very much. Ooh, this is a good one for Drew. 10 reps. David Bailey versus Armand Membu. What's the score?
This is an awesome question, by the way. I love this type of question. And I think this is a perfect kind of chance to explain why I think edge evaluation is so interesting. Because I think on one hand it's nuanced, but on one hand it's also a lot simpler than most people make it, I think. It boils down to there are 3 ways to win at the NFL. There's speed, there's power, and there's counters. And I think to me, you got to be able to do 2 of those things to be successful at the next level. You got to be able to either, if you have speed and power, you usually don't have to counter. If you have speed and can counter, you don't really need power, and vice versa. If you have power and counter, you don't really need speed. To me, and I put bend and speed in the same conversation because I think if you're a speed rusher, you have to be able to bend the corner. And I talked about that earlier with Bailey. That's my hang up with him. Membo, obviously, David Bailey is not strong enough to win through Membo's chest in any world. Membo has the anchor. That's you're never going to happen there. So Bailey has to win around the corner, and I don't think Bailey is flexible to beat Membo. Membo has enough range where he can recover there, and he can just run Bailey beyond the pocket, which I think is what's going to happen at the NFL level. So I might give Bailey 1 rep here because I think he might win through the inside or might be able to get off around the corner enough. But ultimately, I don't think Bailey has a translatable enough skill set, especially against a tackle of Membo's caliber. I'd probably put it 9-1 here in favor of Membo if I had to guess on that.
Drew, you just call it how you see it. That's it. Your God's gift to you, your special talent is telling the truth, and well, you just did. Suck it, David Bailey. Although maybe we'll see that during training camp. If
I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Which again we've talked about could definitely happen. All right, I want to get a few other questions in here, and then, like I said, I promise we'll open up the phone lines. We'll get as much of those in as possible. All right. First off, Mr. Famous Fulton apparently is going to be at the combine. He lives over there in Indianapolis. Mr. Famous Fulton, I hope you call in. I hope, hey, let me put all this together. I want to go to the combine before I'm dead. Hopefully, once I go, I can try to work it out where I go every year. I'd love to bring the show on the road. That'd be awesome. And if I do, I have to meet Mr. Famous Fulton, of course. So, Mr. Famous Fulton, hopefully you call in later live from the combine. That'd be cool. Hep says, Drew Aller, what round is he going in? It sounds like, who is that from? I think it's Dano Jeremiah. So Fernando Mendoza definitely isn't throwing. That's how official. But I believe Daniel Jeremiah said every other quarterback is expected to throw. So that's sort of the good news. So Drew coming off the entry, that sounds pretty important. What round is he going in, do you think, here, Drew?
I would expect probably somewhere between early to mid day 3. And I think, the combine's going to be big for him because the only kind of selling point on Aller left is his arm. Just because he's going to, once he gets to the NFL, he's still immediately in that top caliber of arm talent at the NFL level. He's got a howitzer on his shoulder. So when teams get to see him throw in person, that's going to boost him some. But ultimately, I think you don't see him go any earlier than probably mid 4th, probably maybe early 4th if he's really lucky, but I don't really see that. So probably somewhere somebody takes a shot, around 150-ish, between 120 and 150 maybe in the draft, I'd say, if I had to just pick a random range. But I think you see him go mid day 3.
So even if he lights it up at the combine, because again, I heard who said this. Oh yeah, it was Matt Miller of ESPN. He was on the Jets new draft show. It's called Onboarding, and they were asking him who is sort of give us a breakdown of the quarterbacks of this class. He's like, Fernando Mendoza is number 1. There's a massive gap. There's Ty Simpson, and then there's no one. And I'm like, and I'm listening to the show what do you mean no one? But Matt immediately said, we as a draft media will do everything in our power to make someone QB3. We're just going to talk about it all the time and try to make a player in Madden and force that guy to be the QB3, even though one doesn't exist. So with the thought of trying to make someone, if Drew Aller is like just dropping bombs and looking phenomenal, is there any way there is some sort of rocket fuel, supply, demand, we all need quarterbacks. Does that just force them up the border? And again, you just can't see it based on the tape that's out there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something you see every year where we just try to constantly convince ourselves. I think it's going to be Nussmeier this year is firmly the guy in the third spot after the whole Chambliss deal out of Ole Miss. So yeah, teams are always desperate to find a guy to convince themselves on, and I think Nussmeier, his tape last year is enough to put him in that spot. And he's another guy that I think will come away pretty good after throwing in the combine. I think he's somebody that impresses. So yeah, I think that's firmly his spot to lose.
Okay, there you go. Again, appreciate the questions. Keep firing them in. Ricky New York Live here. Drew, what are your thoughts on defensive tackle Lee Hunter?
Yeah, I love D Hunter. I think Lee Hunter, excuse me. Defensive tackle Lee Hunter is what I was trying to say there. I think he's my 3, I think, right now, if I remember. I have Caleb Banks 1, Orange 2, and then Lee Hunter 3. Firmly a guy I expect to go in the first round, probably in the mid-20s. I think the Bears are a spot that he's been mocked to a lot. I would be surprised if he falls to the Jets in the second round. But if he's there for the Jets at the top of round 2, I think that's your home run pick. He is your kind of dream to replace Quentin Williams on the interior. He is a guy that gives you everything you possibly want in a nose tackle in run defense. He's going to plug, 2 gaps. He's going to have he's going to eat double teams, constantly shed blocks. He's just going to be a dominant force in the run. But I think he's also got the first step and the power as a pass rusher to really push the pocket on pass downs too. He's not a guy you have to take off the field on pass downs. So yeah, Lee Hunter is one of my favorites in an already stacked defensive tackle class. And he's somebody that I think everybody in the world is caught up on, and I'd expect him to go in the first round, especially again after the combine. I think he's a guy that is going to benefit from testing. Going to come in at probably he's shed a lot of bad weight too, so I think he might even come in 320s somewhere. But that's a rock solid 320 something, and he's going to run really well. Good athletic testing. So yeah, Lee Hunter's awesome. I think it's kind of a pipe dream at this point to expect him in the second round for the Jets, but if he's there, home run.
There you go. Hey, last year the pipe dream was Azaria Thomas in the third round, baby. We'll see. We'll see if it can happen again. Super chat coming in. Appreciate this. Ace of Spade.
Wow.
What does your expert think of the ND State quarterback? First off, I love that your reference is my expert. Like you're on my panel of people. Yes, he's my expert. He's my guy I go to like on Pawn Stars. Yeah, let me bring my expert in to give a price check on this. Of course, he's talking about Cole Payton and the North Dakota State quarterback. And there is a lot of, I don't know where it came from. I don't know how it started, but there's just been some palpable buzz about this kid over the last couple of weeks. I have no idea where it came from, but what can you tell us about Cole Payton? What's sort of the draft stock on this young man?
Yeah, Cole Payton's really fun because I think he's, talking about the thing we just talked about a second ago about teams convincing themselves into a guy and being kind of that third spot. Even I've heard rumor that the 2 spot, I think that's firmly Ty Simpson. I think it's unrealistic that anybody takes that spot. But that third spot from Nussmeier is firmly up for grabs. And I think if anybody takes it, it's Cole Payton. And he's a guy that really is going to shine in Indianapolis. I'm glad that Spade's brought him up. Because he's one of the bigger arm QBs in this class, and I think the level of competition is the biggest problem with him. Just especially after Trey Lance, teams are going to be gun shy of that team. Helmet scouting just is what it is. It's unfortunate it shouldn't happen, but it's a reality of the NFL scouting world. And teams are going to be gun shy of Division II quarterbacks. And Cole Payton just never really get to see an elite defense. But man, did he show out against the defenses that he played. I think he is one of the best, if not the best athlete of this QB group. Awesome runner, crazy strong arm, big frame. He's going to come in like 230, probably. I think he's what he'll come in at around there. So, Cole Payton has the raw physical tools to go maybe even day 2 at quarterback in this class. And I think if anybody has a chance to take over that third quarterback spot, it's Cole Payton. And I think he even has the chance to be up, if I had to pick one guy who's going to go on day 3 or like a late quarterback in this draft class that could turn into a starter, I think Cole Payton would be my shot. Just because I think he has the tools to do it compared to everybody else.
This is what revs my interest about the combine. People say, but why do you watch the Underwear Olympics? Why do you watch it? When Ty Simpson and Cole Payton are throwing next to each other, like first round pick Ty Simpson versus Cole Payton, who's this guy, completely different levels of competition. But I'm seeing them throw, not to sometimes it's the same receiver, but they're different receivers. Just seeing them in the same environment, the competitive juices. That's the part that really revs my engine. So Ace of Spade, thank you so much for the super chat. Lou B, what are the days of the combine on television? So technically today's Monday. Things are starting today of players reporting, medical reports, things of that nature. That's already starting today. The actual days of activity, I believe that's Thursday at 3:00, and then it runs through Monday. But every position obviously broken down to its own thing. We're going to have free agency shows and all kinds of other stuff that's built around all of that. So, yeah, it's Thursday through Monday of the actual TV NFL Combine action coming up here on the show. You said you loved these questions, so well, here we go.
Wow.
Let's get more of these. These are hilarious. Luby Super Chats Fair, the $2 super chat. 10 games, Cole Payton versus Drew Aller. What's the score?
This one is a little bit less clear cut than David Bidley versus Armand Membo, but I'm going to give Cole Payton this one 10 times out of 10. If I'm taking a shot on a toolsy quarterback late in this class, it's going to be Cole Payton every time. I think he's got more athletic traits than Drew Aller, and I think I like the mental skill set a lot more than I do Drew Aller's. So I'll give Cole Payton the clean sweep on this one.
Thank you. That's awesome. Like I said, I hope we get more of these. This is the coolest question I've ever heard. I love these questions. This is great. By the way, Lou B, you have 13 raffle tickets this month, so thank you very much for that. We'll keep the questions going. I think this will be more efficient. So actually, we'll open up the phone lines after Drew leaves here because I just think it's easier to get to more of your questions. I want to answer as many of them as possible, so I think this is the best function to be able to do so here. William Ainley says, is Jack Strand a worthy quarterback prospect?
I've heard Jack Strand's name, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, he's Minnesota State. So he's another really small school prospect. I've heard his name. I have not gone to his tape, just ultimately because I can't find Minnesota State tape, honestly. Finding film is a much tougher battle than you guys would guess, especially on these small schools. So if I can find some Minnesota State tape, I will watch Jack Strand and report back on this show. But until then, I don't like to speak on guys I can't fully evaluate. So unfortunately, I don't really have an opinion on Jack Strand because I haven't gotten the chance to watch him yet. But I'll keep hunting for that small school tape, and if I get to watch him, I'll report back.
Minnesota State Moorhead Dragons is Jack Strands. Okay, TBD, but I like it, William Ainley. They have that segment at the Combine, Stump the Truck, and at the draft, who's a prospect they could try to throw up that they wouldn't have tape ready for to bring on the show. So I love that here. On the program. Let me make sure I got to all the ones I put aside. So, okay, keep those who wins, what's the score questions. Try to get as many of those in before we do it here. Delray Doc, this isn't in the form of a question, but Drew is a great guest. And again, folks, I don't know how many people in the universe I would contort the entire start time of the show to bend around a guest. I don't know how many that list is. What's the score of Boy Green versus doing that with the amount of guests? That I'm unaware of, but Drew Beatty is one on that list. And again, after last year and our pass crossing, this was just an obvious thing that I wanted to happen again, as long as Drew would have us for these shows. And man, I just feel like I'm getting smarter with all of these, which, on one hand, I was about to say it's a difficult task, but that would seem to indicate that I'm incredibly intelligent. So it's not a difficult thing because of how empty my brain is, that there's plenty of space in there to be putting things in. But nonetheless, I appreciate all the fans that love Drew. Again, he joins us every single week here on the program. Drew, I don't give you enough of these plugs. Where can people beyond Boy Green Daily, which I love that you're on here, but beyond Boy Green Daily, if they want to read or consume your stuff, where's the best place to do it?
Yeah, you can find pretty much everything I do at Iron City Film right there on Twitter/X. I do my writing work over at paulkuharski.com. You can find all my draft breakdowns now this time of year, written stuff over there. But yeah, pretty much everything else I do, you find featured on my Twitter/X right there.
There you go. Hey, you're in the AFC South, so let's ask you this question from Taylor Story. Price check, Brian Thomas Jr. There's a lot of rumors he could be moved to the deadline. I heard rumors that the Jets and Jaguars are talking about like a Quinnen Williams, Brian Thomas Jr. trade at the deadline. So I've heard some whispers about that. So obviously it didn't go through and they ended up going to the Cowboys. I think they got a better deal there. I like BTJ, but what do you think the price is? It sounds like the Jacksonville may be willing to move him, and you look at all the receivers in there. Yeah, you have Travis Hunter. You've got Parker Washington. Obviously, you got Jacoby Myers. Like, you got a lot of names there. It looks like he could be expendable.
Yeah, ultimately, I'd be surprised if he's still for sale, especially after the news of Travis Hunter being, officially switched to full-time corner, part-time receiver. I just think Brian Thomas is too valuable. Being a third-year player with what he showed, even after a down year, what he showed in his rookie year is just too valuable. I think if he is on the block, I think it probably starts with a second-round pick, if not more expensive than that. It's probably second plus more, maybe even a first. So I'd be surprised if Brian Thomas is on the block, but even if he is, you're going to pay a premium price for him.
Hey, by the way,
not something I would do if I was the Jets.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. Again, terrific first year. He went to the Pro Bowl last year. Obviously, not as impressive. What's your day-to-day like, Drew? You wake up at what time, and take us through your work day, and then you hit your bed on the pillow at some point, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, on these days, it's usually around 5, so I can get up and make the show on time. And then I get on here, I get off around this time, and then I head to work. My normal, boring, non-sports related job. I'm there till, 4 or whatever it is in the afternoon, and then I come home and try to hit the gym on those days, and then it's, just tape until I got to go to bed, usually.
Wait a second. So your normal job has nothing to do with sports?
No, I work a normal 9 to 5 outside of sports, so.
Wow. And you do all this. You're a freak, man. That's unbelievable. Is it at all? I mean, again, feel free to punt on that. We're live on the show, so feel free if there's questions. I'm getting too deep here. Feel free to hit the old punt button, which is something I'm sure a Tennessee Titans fan isn't afraid to do. Hi-yo!
Oh, okay.
Throwing rocks for my Jets glass house over here, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Is this non-sports job titillating in any way?
Not really. It's just something that honestly, I'm just using it. Yeah, pay the bills. Usually, it's a foundation that allows me to chase this on the side. So, okay, just something that I am hoping that I can fully transition to sports eventually on. But it's something that's a reality of life right now.
No, that's all right. Hey, no shame, man. I've had to do that for a long time of doing all this weird stuff. When I was in COVID, random story, and then we'll let you go here, Drew. When I was in COVID, unfortunately, one of my sports jobs that I had was like, yeah, buddy, this isn't happening. It's COVID. So, boop, got kicked off there. My radio station went like, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. You're on furlough, which basically, folks, that's a fancy word for saying you don't get paid, leave for a series of time, and we'll bring you back maybe after. And I'm like, crap. I need to pay the bills. I need a real job. So I worked at a Stewart's. I don't know if that's down there where you are, but it's a gas station and you make food, you pump gas, you do all kinds of weird, odd jobs for this thing. And I had to do that for a year while also trying to do podcasting on the side. It was such an inconvenience because, the bulk of the day I'm doing this job where I can't be constantly checking my phone for Twitter updates on the Jets. So, it was very inconvenient. But, hey, you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do for your family, man. So we appreciate all the backflips you're doing here for this show, Drew Beatty.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, Drew, thanks, pal. And next week, get ready. Post-combine mock draft.
Always ready. Can't wait.
There we go. There he is. Drew Beatty at Iron City Film, everybody, here on the program. Shout out to Drew. All right, everybody. Here's what we are going to do next here on the program. All right. We're going to take a quick halftime out. I saw some more questions. They were beyond Drew, not in an insulting way. There were more Jet-specific questions, so I want to get to those. I want to get to your phone calls. You guys may have seen that update last night on my YouTube short, and also if you follow my writing for Heavy on Jets about the Jets being forced to spend money this offseason. What does that mean? What are the rules? How does all that sort of come together? I am more than willing to explain that. Take your phone calls and so much more. So we'll take a quick timeout, and your phone calls next. It's Combine Week, baby.
1, 2, 3. Whoa! Fucking Davey, fucking Davey, fucking Davey. Talking Jets football, man. All right. Fucking Davey, fucking Davey, fucking Davey. The New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. Everyone, J-E-T-S, Jets. Boy Green, fucking Davey, fucking Davey, fucking Davey. It's talking Jets football, man. All right. Boy Green, fucking Davey, fucking Davey, fucking Davey. Offense, defense. Fan Special Teams. Watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Let's go!
There you go. You just heard it from Hep. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Just got that pinned link up. If you're watching on youtube.com/boygreen25, it's now the pinned comment on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, salutations. Hello. Howdy. How you doing? Appreciate it. Glad to have you here. And also a special shout out to the people that rewatch this show on YouTube, and also the people that watch this show or listen to the show on the audio only version. And quick soapy shout out here. I just want to tell you guys that it doesn't get lost on me when people give comments or compliments about the show. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. So thank you to everyone, no matter how you consume this show. I really appreciate all the love out there in the audience for this program. I love doing this show. It's an absolute pleasure to get a chance to do this show. And I want to give a shout out here to Clifford's 6971, who says he never misses a show. Thanks for all the hard work on the show. It doesn't go unnoticed and stuff. And Clifford's and anyone else that says anything nice, again, means the world. I love doing this. I'm not, I never take it for granted. Pinch myself every day. I get to do this Jet Show with you guys from my home office here, and that you guys dig the show. Again, I am absolutely tickled. So thank you very much. Uncle Indy says it, baby. Hit the damn like button. That is free to do, by the way. We have 300 people watching the show, including 100 on YouTube. Guys, make sure you guys like that video. That is absolutely friggin' free to do. I appreciate people that super chat, and I see we have one in the chat, but we have only 30 likes, but 100 people in the room. People like that video. That is how this Jet Show gets in front of other Jet fans out in the audience. YouTube algorithm then suggests this Jet Show to other people when those likes are super high and when the subscribers are high and things of that nature. So feel free to show the love. I'd appreciate it out there in the audience. All right, let me answer a few. I just saw a super chat come in, so let's answer a couple of different things here. First off, EZ with a super chat, baby.
Wow.
Thank you, EZ, for the super chat. We just added that to your raffle ticket total for this month. Drew Aller, yes, by all accounts, he's supposed to throw out the combine this week. Let me get the full NFL combine schedule here for you guys. NFL combine schedule 2026. Okay. Yes. So here it is. This is what here's the event info from the NFL combine. So the TV activities start on Thursday for those who enjoy watching all the combine action. It starts on Thursday. Here it is. Okay. I just had it here. Here it is. So Thursday, we're going to get place kickers, defensive linemen, and linebackers. On Friday, we get tight ends and defensive backs. Saturday, we get quarterbacks, wide receiver, running back. That's the big day. And then Sunday, we get the offensive linemen. So, excuse me, it's Thursday through Sunday. So, it's Thursday through Monday. My apologies. So, it's Thursday through Sunday. That is it. The drills start at 3 o'clock on Thursday. They start at 3 o'clock on Friday, and they start at 1 o'clock on the weekend. So, you guys can tune into NFL Network for all that coverage. Excuse me. So, by all accounts, outside of some surprise coming in here, easy, Drew Aller out of Penn State is expected to throw. This will be our first chance seeing him since he broke his ankle. So this is a huge opportunity for him to build some serious steam. Fernando is not throwing. That's been confirmed by multiple league executives and league insiders, excuse me. So Fernando won't be throwing, but everyone else is expected to throw. And there's a full quarterback list of guys that are coming in. So easy, yes, Drew Aller. Now, Drew Beatty, our draft guest that joins us on the show, he said that he believes the highest he could see Drew Aller getting drafted is like the middle of the 4th round. And he thinks even with a really good combine. So he's not high on Drew Aller. And even whatever he could do this upcoming weekend. We'll see. I don't know. With no clear QB3, I think there is a chance that someone takes that or force feeds that role, and that could be Drew Aller. So, he's on the table for sure. Let me do this. There was a question earlier. I want to get to that here on the program. Okay, so NY Jets fandom, shout out to you. If we have to spend money, we might as well pay Linderbaum. So you may say, what is everybody talking about here? So, okay, I wrote this piece yesterday. Shout out to Tony Pauline, NFL Insider. Okay, so here's what I will tell you. A lot of experts have predicted, the Jets are going to be spending some serious money in free agency, right? A lot of experts have predicted that the Jets will spend serious money. I'm here to tell you the Jets have to spend money this offseason. There is a rule in the CBA. Let's cite it here. Again, shout out to Tony Pauline of Essentially Sports for highlighting this. But the Jets, quote, must spend an additional $50 million on player contracts this year to meet their 3-year requirement, according to the CBA. And I pulled out the old online CBA book, licked the finger and thumbed through a couple of pages. And here is what it says in Article 12, Section 9 of the CBA. From the periods 2024 through 2026, which is a 3-year league period, quote, this is straight from the CBA, there shall be a guaranteed minimum team cash spending of 90% of the salary caps for such periods. So what does all that funky terms mean? Boy Green citing the CBA. The Jets have been cheap bastards the last couple of years. And to equate to the 90% threshold on a 3-year period, so teams can't just sit on their hands and not spend any money and let it roll over and all these things. There are rules in the CBA that forces teams to spend a minimum amount of money. The Jets have to spend $50 million to meet the minimum 3-year period. This is the last year that they can do it, so thus they have to do it. That can come in the form of free agency spending and extension. So we could see potentially if they extended Breece Hall or Elijah Tucker or John Simpson or whoever those people are, the Jets have to spend the money. So, and also here's what it means. Shout out to Tony Pauline for this nugget. So, like, what does that mean for player contracts? And by the way, so let me also explain this. Okay. So in this case, it's a 3-year period. Sometimes it's a 4-year period. It depends when it is in the CBA. In the Jets case, it's a 3-year period from 2024 through 2026. Quote, any shortfall in the minimum team cash spending at the end of the league year, which it is applicable. So again, if the Jets said, you know what, we're not going to spend the money, we don't have to. That money from the CBA shall be paid on or before the next September 15th by the team having such a shortfall directly to the players who are on such a team's roster at any time during the applicable seasons, pursuant to the reasonable allocation instructions of the NFLPA. What's all that word salad mean? That means the Jets, you better spend it or you lose it. So it behooves the Jets to actually spend that money to use it on the team, or else they're going to have to pay it in back taxes, essentially, to players, which the team doesn't want to do. So that's all funky words to say the Jets are going to be spending money this offseason because they have to. Now, I don't think they actually needed the pushing to do this because they're coming off a 3-14 season, which sucked. So, of course, they should be spending money. And Aaron Glenn's ass is on the hot seat, so he of course is motivated to spend money. So I don't think that we needed all this, but it just goes to show that the Jets will be spending money this offseason. And specifically, folks, Pauline explained that what this means is there will be a lot of contracts the Jets signed this offseason that are front loaded with a lot of cash for 2026 to meet that minimum spending threshold. Okay. And if the Jets could be spending that money, our boy NY Jets fandom says, well, you might as well spend it on Linderbaum, which I agree. That's someone you want to pay for. So those are all the rules with the CBA and how it all matters. And the Jets have to spend the money. So we'll see if they will. So again, I had a story on it on Heavy on Jets. You guys can make sure you're a subscriber to my articles so you can get them to your email every time I have content. That's another way you can support the show. Feel free to do that. But yeah, so they have to spend the money. Yes. Delray Doc says, by the way, I love when Dave Briga calls in. I love his take on life in the Jets. Again, I respect what Dave Briga, he has seen a lot of life. He's been through a lot, and he shares it here on the show. I love that. NC Green says, there's no way the Jets aren't spending their money. AG's on the hot seat, 100%. So for a multi-pronged reasons, again, the CBA rules, AG's ass on the hot seat. They're coming off a 3-14 year. There's no reason not to spend the money, and they will indeed spend the money. Jets Worldwide says, "We'll front load a contract for Cousins." There you go. That's the spirit. Sure, that'd be a way to do it. Sure, they could do that. Taylor Sterling says, if we didn't spend at least $50 million this offseason, something is wrong. I agree. Yeah, that would have been no bueno. So they will definitely find a way to spend that money. Long story short, for sure. That's going to happen. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We'll kick it off with you.
Hey, isn't it true that you have to spend a certain amount of money on the team each year? I think you can only maybe save like a couple of percentage of what you have available. So it's not like you can sit there and have $100 million in cap space and only spend $30 million and roll that over. You kind of have to spend that money to a certain point.
No, only on these years. Like I said, in the CBA, there's sometimes periods where it's 4 years, 3 years, and anything. So you can roll over money to the next year. But for a team to have that kind of capital and to roll it over would be sort of strange, because I'd imagine they'd have that cap space because, the exception, a lot of bad teams have a lot of money available. Raiders, Titans, Jets, but the Seahawks have a lot of money, but they have to now pay a bunch of people. So they just won the Super Bowl in a unique way. So no, you don't have to spend it. It's not just year to year of that. It's based on the periods in the CBA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I had thought that they have to spend and they could only save like up to 5%. It's not. Yeah, that's what I had heard, but I guess I was wrong. So now everybody online is going to bash me now.
No, I don't think so, Easy. I don't think so.
Well, I had just joined the show and I asked the Drew Aller question, and then someone said, "Figures Easy asks about Drew Aller now," and I'm like, "But I just joined the show."
No, you just hey, nothing wrong. I understand. Like right now, at this very moment in time, there's 400 people watching this show. I don't know if these 400 people have been watching the exact entire time. And by the way, I don't expect to. People have lives. They're coming in and out of the show. They tune into the show when they can.
Overslept.
Hey,
I overslept.
Get your sleep in. That's totally cool. So no, again, on Drew Aller, he believes that at best case scenario, he can maybe go at the top of the 4th round, which is a day 3 pick. And I just said, man, you sure that like with the combine, he can't light it up and do something? Because it's going to be our first time seeing him since he broke his ankle. And yeah, he did not think so, Drew Beatty. So we'll see. Hey, different opinions.
We'll see. Who else do you like as far as our needs? I mean, we discussed, linebacker, safety, was a wide receiver.
Sure, defensive end, defensive tackle, guard. If you're not, whatever you're doing, that left guard situation. Do you need any tight end depth? Breece Hall situation, obviously. Are we tagging him? Zach Rosenblatt wrote a piece this morning where he says the full expectation is the Jets still plan on tagging Breece Hall. They still have another, Monday? So 8 days. They don't have to tag him today. They have all the way till Tuesday, March 3rd to make that decision. And they'll get some more information this week.
What's your gut? You think we tag him and keep him, or tag him and trade him?
That's a good question. I do think we tag him, but is it tag to keep? I'm going to this is dangerous, but I'm going to choose to believe the words that Darren Mucci and AG have been saying at the podium, and they have seemed to suggest that they want Breece a part of this team for the now and the future. Now, it could just be word salad. It could be, leveraging for a trade or whatever, but my expectation is they tag him to keep him.
And when do we get a press conference from Frank Reich?
Ooh, that's a good question. So Tuesday will be AG and Darren Mucci back-to-back, 1 o'clock and 1:15 at the Combine. We should probably hear from Frank Reich. I'd imagine it's either going to be right before free agency or after like the first or second wave is when we'll get all our coordinator press conferences. So it could be one or the other. We'll see. Maybe it would make sense after, but before we would get questions on like what kind of quarterback Frank Reich is looking for and things of that nature. So we'll see on the Jets calendar, but it'll be either before or after free agency. So we'll hear from Frank and quite frankly, Brian Duker and Banjo, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Banjo, we're not worried about him.
No, not at all. I don't even, with all due respect, I don't need to hear from him. He's good, but Duker, and I'd be more interested in speaking with Reich than Duker, but yeah. Yeah,
because I'm curious as to, now I'm sure when you're a good coach, you can take either a pocket passer or a running quarterback and make it work. You that's the advantage of having a guy like Reich who's been there, done that. He I think instead of having a rookie who's trying to just play with what he's got, Reich could play with what he's got and tweak that stuff too, because he's got the experience. He knows what will work with a running quarterback, and he knows what will work with a pocket passer, and he can tweak him better, I think. I mean, that's my guess. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I just woke up.
Yeah. No, but again, it's a great question. I think a lot of people want to hear from Frank. Now, thankfully, we had that article from The Athletic, Dan Pompei, and I've been trying to get Dan Pompei. I'll break the fourth wall here. Frank Reich did this full sit-down at the Jets facilities with Dan Pompei, and for The Athletic, I wrote an article about it. There's some nuggets in there that I find very intriguing, but I've been trying to reach out to Dan Pompei to see if I can get him on the show. We can extract more Frank Reich information from him for the Jets. He's been unavailable so far, so we'll see if we can get him on the program, because obviously we'd love to hear from Frank Reich. There's so many things that you could ask about his offense, quarterback, the decision to come back. There's a lot of meat on that bone, so I can't wait for that press conference.
How's the weather up there? I know I was up in Monroe earlier this week, last week, because of my aunt's funeral, and they had gotten slammed. There was still a lot of snow left on the ground. And my cousin called me yesterday and said they were fixing to get a blizzard up there.
Yeah, we're going to get a blizzard. That's going to be really bad. I'm just glad that we got a lot of the ice off the roof. Because we had it. So it was cold, snowstorms. Then we just had this break where we had a couple of days of like 35, 40 degrees above freezing.
Right.
And so we started getting the melting of the big ass icicles off the roof, which I imagine, you don't want anyone having their roofs caving in around here. So all of that went away. So thank God. So now with this blizzard happening, it's going to rebuild all that probably. But I'm glad that we got those off, because that would be worse. If that was all still here and we had the blizzard, that would have put us in a real bad spot.
Oh, yeah, then you wind up with a freaking glacier on your roof.
100%. And that weight and pressure people don't think about can cave in and be very dangerous for people. And I've got a few old ladies that live in my street, and I'd be very concerned for their safety and health and things of that nature.
Well, that's why all those Swiss chalets have those really steep roofs. So that snow gets off. Yeah.
That's smart. I never thought about that.
Well, down here, we don't have a lot of snow, so the roofs are like a 5-7 pitch, they're like that,
Yeah, right. They have nothing to worry about, right?
Not really. I mean, we get snow every now and then. Like I said, we dodged a bullet here in the Raleigh area. Everyone around us got about a foot, and we only had like 5-6 inches at the worst.
Oh, thank God.
But yeah, my cousin Adam told me they were going to get like between 14 and 22 inches up there. Over last night and today. That's in the Monroe area, Orange County.
Yeah, right. We established that's like whatever it is, 4.5 hours, something like that for me.
Yeah.
And we get lake effect too. So whatever blizzard could be coming in, we could get on top of that lake effect from Ontario here. So that normally is a bad recipe, a bad combination. But
you could get like 3 feet.
Well, thankfully, I don't have any. So February 23rd.
What's the most snow you got? What's the most snow you got in one like 3-4, 2 to 3 day sitting?
Probably 5 to 7 feet, something like that.
Holy shit!
Where a storm comes through and you just open your door, you're like, oh my God. So some people can't open their door. Like you open your door and it's just snow. Like you don't see outside.
Yeah.
So that can be a whole situation. Thankfully, we have some sort of a porch, so that's very difficult to happen. Although that just happened, I took a YouTube short about it when I walked out of my house, and you couldn't see my steps. There was just too much snow. So it was just snow, and you're like, "What the?" And you don't know where do I start. The problem is we ran out of places to put it, so I'm shoveling, and then I'm like, we've piled it up too high. So I'm just walking around with snow shovels, and I'm walking like hundreds of feet to try to find somewhere to dump it. Then I have to go back to it. It's a whole nightmare. So that's an ideal.
You got to go to that military surplus store and get those binoculars that kind of go up like this,
Right, exactly.
Those periscope binoculars.
Yeah, right.
I was always wondering if Pop had a pair of those or something.
That's a good question. I've never seen him. If he has them, he might have them in the old war chest of old stories to tell. So I'll have to ask him.
Well, worst case scenario, you could always call your big brother over and just ride on his shoulder so you can see where the hell you're going.
That's true. Hey, I'm all for any additional help. The good news is that I don't have to leave the house really outside of like things you normally have to leave the house for. My other job at the radio station doesn't start for another month and change. So hopefully some snow's gone where I do baseball again for the AAA Syracuse Mets. They're the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets. So I help broadcast their games. So I'm going to have to start doing that in a month. So I'll be probably out of the house probably 5 or 6 of the 7 days of the week. I'll have to drive to another town to be at the radio station in between all these podcasts and stuff. And so but hopefully the snow is a lot lesser then, but you never know.
Yeah, coolest thing I can remember is being down here in near Durham. We used to go to Bulls games, and at the time, the Tides were the Mets AAA team. I think they're with God. Who are the Tide Water? Who are the Norfolk Tides with now? I think they were with the Baltimore Orioles. Well, the last time
yeah.
But before that, when they were still with the Mets, Howard Johnson was their first base coach. Do you remember Hojo?
No.
Well, Howard Johnson was an outfielder for the Mets. He was a left-hander, and I never seen anyone turn on a fastball like Howard Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He used to wear number 20. But yeah, he was the first base coach for the Tides, and I saw him at a Durham Bulls game a couple of years back. Must have been a lot of years back now, but it was fun. Anyway, you're gonna be in the snow.
I am.
Joy.
I'll be in the snow, and I will report back if there's anything to report back to for all you guys.
I don't know how you guys do it up there.
I don't know. Like, it's the same thing when you guys down south get like 2 or 3 inches, and then everyone's like losing their shit. But you guys aren't used to that sort of stuff, so we have it all here. We're just used to it, I guess. We have all the snowplow drivers that come through, take care of the streets, and
dude, I gotta tell you,
up the roads and stuff.
These fuckers down here, they can't even drive when it rains. They're really bad drivers down here. But, you know, I love the area. I love the people. So you put up with the nonsense.
Yeah, we try to do what we can. But you know what, Easy? Thank you for bringing some reality, some truth, and love to the show. We appreciate that.
Yeah, just take care of the family, and if you get a chance to get out and get your foodies first, go get your foodies.
Yep, before everything comes through. Will do. Thanks, Easy. Appreciate you. There he is. Easy joining us here on the show. Yes, just to clarify, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about my Mets job. Yeah, so I am a producer and board operator. And then if you listen to the broadcast on the top of every odd inning, that's 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and then the post-game show, you'll hear me doing a show. I'll be talking about the world of sports. I'll be talking about the Jets. I'll be sort of, working in a little bit there for that. So you'll hear me for like 45 seconds at the top of every odd inning. So again, that's 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. So I'll have a quick sports update that you'll hear on air. And then there's some play that I have with the broadcasters. And then I do a post-game show live from Syracuse. So they do the scores and all that kind of stuff. What happened to the game? Oh, wow, Syracuse won, lost, this, that. Here are all the highlights. And I'm pressing all the buttons behind the scenes to do that. And then after that's finished, after that all wraps up, I do my own post-game show from Syracuse. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's awesome. It's always a lot of fun. So thank you, Del Rey Doc. I appreciate it. It's a cool gig. I've been doing it for the last 10 years or so. So I'm very blessed. 11 years now, I guess, with a slight gap of it's 11 years, but there was a slight gap in between, like 2 or 3 years where I was at ESPN Radio. I was doing hockey games, Syracuse Crunch, Yankees. I'm trying to think of what else I was doing over there. Some Syracuse sports. So yeah, basically I'm a board op behind the scenes and do different stuff. Coaches shows, right? When a coach like Jim Boeheim was at his Italian restaurant behind the scenes doing some of those shows. So yeah, a lot of fun. I enjoy my radio background. I'm glad I get to do some of that too. Jets Worldwide says, can we get a solo acoustic performance from Easy this Saturday? We'll see. Yes, this Saturday, folks, I'll be making the link here at some point today, I'm sure. Our Boy Green Espresso Club meeting is coming up this Saturday, the 28th. So again, this Saturday, February 28th, around 8 o'clock, we'll be doing our Espresso Club meeting. What is that? It is a live show for the Boy Green Espresso Coffee Club members out in our audience. That is $5.99 to join, $5.99 a month. If you see it any more expensive anywhere else you are, then just go to your laptop and feel free to join. It's always in the YouTube description down below. That's one of our 2 YouTube membership levels on the program, baby. So feel free to support and jump on. It's cool. Here it is. By the way, if you are an Espresso Club member, you get all the perks of the previous membership level. So loyalty badge, emoji, early access to video, member shout out, priority replies, and then the members only content that we're talking about here on the Espresso Club. We had our first Espresso Club meeting. It was last month, and they will be at the end of every month. And basically, if you're a Boy Green Espresso Coffee Club member, you can call into the show and join the show live. You can choose to just interact in the comment section, give questions or comments or things of that nature, and I'll highlight them on the show. And this Saturday, like I said, we'll be talking about me nearly being on a game show. I'll tell you the game show. I'll tell you all the details, how I've tried to get on other game shows before, give you a little bit of a history of that. But yes, I was seriously in the running for a game show to be on basically right now, that I would be on a television streaming network. I was about to be on a game show. It is true. I made it past the first round of casting, made it to the second round of casting, and I'll talk more about it on Saturday. So we'll talk about that and anything else you guys want. Again, if you want career advice, if you want to talk life, kids, Jets, I mean, all of it's on the table. It was a super fun episode last month. So if you want to be a part of this one, all you have to do is join the Boy Green Espresso Club. And also on top of the perks you get, they're on your screen. Also, you get 5 bonus raffle tickets. Raffle tickets are $3 a piece typically, and you get 5 raffle tickets. It's a $15 value for only paying $6. And that's my gift from me to you. And as long as you remain an Espresso Club member, you'll get 5 raffle tickets to every contest for the rest of the time, as long as you remain a member. So you'll have a chance to win the prizes on a month-to-month basis. Salute to you. Looking forward to that. Again, that'll be on Saturday, February 28th. So we'll easy call in for a show. Guess we'll find out. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. We have the legendary Philium gracing us with his presence, FL Phil 98. What's up, pal?
Good morning, Paul. This time of year, I tend to, as I've told you, kind of sit back and listen. I love the knowledge that a lot of people have about the draft players. I learn a lot. But for me, it's always tough to even try and project that until after free agency. So whether it's, a Banks, a Baines, a Reese, a safety, I think hearing the names and getting an idea of, there's probably 20 guys we're going to take really good looks at the right times. I love that part of it. But I think trying to say, I'm going to take this guy at 2, this one at 16, this one at 33 is a little premature. We could change everything in free agency. The part of this time of year that I do kind of dig in on a little bit is, and I've been waiting and waiting, is the Breece Hall situation, right? And it's funny because for a long time, I've been waiting for the conversation to change a little bit about the non-exclusive tag, because I actually think that's the one that I would use, but I would use it as leverage. Now, I'm sorry if anybody else already said this. I came in late, but if I say to his agent, if I use this tag, nobody's going to offer him big money, because they're not. Even if they could get him 3 years, $20 million, they're not giving me 2 first-round picks for him. So if I want to keep Breece, that's my leverage to say, I'll give you the same deal as the guy in Dallas, 3 years, 24, 16 guaranteed. If not, I'm going to slap this tag on you and good luck to you. It's going to cost this year roughly the same as the non-exclusive tag. As far as total dollars, it's almost the same. So to me, that's the one that I hate to, it's a business, right? That's the one I threaten him with. If I want to keep him, and the whole he's going to be a malcontent and a bad guy in the locker. I mean, all the guy's going to do is take money out of his pocket if he does that, And I think, that's where coaching comes in. That's where leadership in the locker room comes in. I just think if I want to keep him, I think that's the best route to keep him. If I'm just looking to get what I can for him, then yeah, I guess the only choice then is the exclusive tag. So that's my 2 cents on Breece. And I've always kind of I feel like there's a handful every once in a while of really special running backs. I don't think Breece is that. That's a guy that you pay, Everybody else, you can just replace them every freaking 3 years. There's always 1,000 guys out there. You can plug in a free agent. You can do a lot of things at running back. I think Brees is special in certain ways, but overall, to me, he's not a guy that I'm going to sweat if I lose him. And we got a billion holes. Everybody keeps saying, why add another one? To me, I just think that running back is a spot, especially with a decent offensive line, that you don't have to sweat that much. Let's go fix some of the other shit first. That's just the way I look at it. So, I've just kind of been laying in the weeds, waiting to hear all the opinions about Brees for a while.
Yeah,
What are your
I would
thoughts?
I would say I think the non-exclusive is the way to go for all. And here it is. Everything you said is correct. Non-exclusive, because no team is actually going to sign him to an offer sheet because no one's giving up 2 firsts. Someone wouldn't give up a third last year, so it doesn't make any sense that someone would give up 2 firsts. But what non-exclusive allows you to do is allows Brees to talk to other teams. So this is what I would do if you can't sign Brees to an extension today, and he's either not interested or you guys can't work it out or anything. You slap the non-exclusive on Brees and you say, "Hey, Brees, here's our offer for a long-term deal." And Brees goes like, pound it. I don't want that long-term deal. Then we go, okay, go talk to all the other teams in the league and see anyone who's interested in you. And then if you get 5 teams, bring them back to us. Here's the compensation. We want a 3rd-round pick. I don't know if that's what would do it now, but you say we want a 3rd-round pick. And if 3 of the 5 teams say, "Oh, I'll give you a 3rd-round pick to tag and trade," then we say, "Okay, get in a room with Brees and you guys go work out a long-term deal." And then bing, boom, bam, whoever is able to do that, perfect. They come back to us. We tag and trade Brees. We get a 3rd, let's say, and then you immediately replace him, hopefully, by signing another running back in free agency. You do something crazy in the draft if that's what you want to do or whatever. I think that's the play. You can, if no teams are interested, cool. He plays out 2026, and we get a 24-year-old who will turn 25 on another year of his deal, and then we'll figure it out a year from now. We could tag him again if we have to. We'll figure it out next year. We could sign him to an extension. If that is a way to do it, we'd have until July 15th to work out a long-term deal, or tag and trade, which, by the way, I want to make sure we don't lose him for anything. The transition tag scares the crap out of me. I've explained that over the last couple of days. I feel like there's a chance we could lose him for nothing. I don't like that play. And then exclusive is just he wouldn't be able to negotiate with other teams unless you gave him the permission to do so, which, again, non-exclusive feels like the way to go, especially since the money is negligible between exclusive and non-exclusive.
Yeah, like what I read about the non-exclusive is it was kind of conjured up. The real reason for it was to protect teams losing a quarterback. Because if you take, let's say that Joe Burrows was going to go free agent and that they can't afford to keep him, or he's not staying no matter what, he'll go for less money elsewhere. Okay, that's really the whole idea behind it. Is that for a Joe Burrow, somebody will give him a 5-year, $250 million deal and throw you 2 first-round picks in a heartbeat. That's really the reason for that. But it works in your favor in a situation like Brees. I think they would price, or they would have traded him last year. And again, he's not like he's a guy you want to just throw away and get nothing. And obviously they felt he was worth more than a 4th-round pick, and so do I. So, I think it's the way to get him to stay if that's what you really want. If that's what your goal is, sure, I'd like to keep him for a few more years, but I don't want to go 4. I want to go 3. I don't want to go 30, 12 million. I want to go 8. It's the only way you can get done what you want to get done.
That is funny, though, how the rules work, though. That it was designed for a quarterback to block the 2 first-round, which again makes a lot of sense, right? In a unique situation, Lamar could have been had for 2 firsts, but a lot of people were scared about the injuries and that the Ravens would match no matter what, and that's cool. And then in this game of Survivor, they designed rules for the game, and then players take advantage of the rules. They're like, holy shit, we didn't think about that. So it's funny that we have this 2 first-round pick thing for quarterback. NFL, this is our intent. And it seems like that's cool. That was your intent, but now we can use it uniquely at the running back position to block this. That's just, it's interesting. The human mind, how we take advantage of things that were supposed to be this way, but there's loopholes that you can sort of, take advantage of.
Yeah, we could look at an awful lot of government programs in that regard. But I just wanted to throw in that, and it's funny because for the first couple of weeks, I didn't hear anybody talking about the the non-exclusive. And I thought, boy, that's the one that makes the most sense to me. And recently everybody's been talking about it. So it's kind of funny how it geared that way. The only other thing yeah, the only other thing about the free agency thing is, I feel the same about AVT as Brees. I wouldn't be opposed to keeping him, but it would just have to be a team friendly deal. He just scares me too much, and this constant fear of losing people and getting nothing in return. You say a lot is, we don't want to lose this guy and get nothing. We get zip and pip and all that. It's just part of the game sometimes. The way things evolve through his career, he's just one of those guys you got on the table, and if he doesn't take it, let him go. That's all you can do.
I think that may be where they go, and AVT may find greener pastures in the great beyond. And if he does, God bless. That would be very risky to sign him to a long-term deal and big money. I wonder if a team is going to. That's what I'm curious about in free agency. Will a team just say, you know what, screw it? We have to, we have money to burn, and why not take a chance on this kid? And if we're right, it pays off in a big way. And maybe a team's going to be willing to risk it. God bless them if they do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's the perfect player, for that scenario. If you're willing to take the risk on him, and it's high risk, high reward, right? God bless you, and we get nothing for him, and he goes to the fucking Hall of Fame or whatever, and you go, man, we screwed the pooch on that one, but it happens. Now the Jets screw a lot of pooches, but sometimes in this situation, I don't think there's a hell of a lot they can do.
Yeah. Again, what if they sign him to this crazy long-term deal and then he immediately gets hurt again? And then in 3 of his 5 years, he's had season-ending injuries, and I'm not rooting for injuries for anyone. Can you imagine in the 6th year, 4 out of 6? Like, good Lord. Like, the signs were all there,
Yeah, absolutely. Those were really the 2 that I kind of had a strong opinion about, and I just wanted to pop in for a minute. It's been a while. Much love to Indy and the entire coffee club. And that's all I got for today, sir.
There he is, Philium, joining us here on the program. And I love Philium calls in, and there's all these Philium emojis raining down. Philium. He's a man of the people. The people love him for good reason, by the way. I will tell you this. Philium was just saying that the, non-exclusive, not a lot of people were talking about that. A lot of people were talking about it. I'm going to come out front and say it right now that speaking of screwing pooches, I totally misread the franchise tag situation. I thought for sure the one that made the most sense for the Jets is non-exclusive. Exclusive. I thought exclusive made the most sense. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's going to be the play. Transition makes no sense for this, non-exclusive for this. But my peanut brain didn't wrap around that non-exclusive. Again, the threat of the 2 first-round picks, I said, no one's going to pay that. But that's exactly the point. No one's going to pay that, which would allow Brees to explore the market and then use that to trade him. So, yes, Philium was right. He was on it, as he was saying, and I was dead wrong. I was an idiot. I did not have that appropriately figured out of which would be the right tag, for sure. And, yes, I think that was one of the funniest things that Philium has said. The Jets have screwed a lot of pooches. Yes, they have, Philium. I'm going to put that one on a T-shirt. That's a good one. The Jets have screwed a lot of pooches. Troy Sturgis asks, how many pooches have we screwed? Yeah, I got to double check the number on that one. That was funny. That was hilarious. Philium, always full of insight. Love Philium joining us here on the show. But yeah, like I said, I think the Jets tag Brees. That's all the reporting. Zach Resblatt wrote a piece this morning that the expectation is Jets will still tag Brees. I see Snowball's comment in here. Let me throw this up real quick. It's Survivor Game Show. That's not the worldwide comment I wanted to highlight, but let me clarify this. I have applied to get on the show Survivor countless times, including this year. And remind me, guys, on the Espresso Club on Saturday, I had the best chance to make it on Survivor this year than I've ever had ever before. And I could explain why. That I knew someone special, and I could explain this on the show on Saturday, that grabbed my audition tape and I know he handed it to someone of mass importance. And there's good and bad with that, which, like I said, I'll get more into that in Saturday. So I guess you could call Survivor Game Show, but that's not the show I'm talking about. That's not the show that I nearly made it on. I did have my best chance ever to make it on Survivor this year, but I did not make it on unless I have a surprise in store for me here shortly of someone going to give me a call about something. But no, I did have my best chance for Survivor this year, but I did not make it on. But no, this other game show I'm referencing for Saturday's show is a game show I have not talked about that I was very seriously in the running for. So I will look forward to talk about that. Yes. We'll talk about that on the show. I don't know where Snowball's comment went, but anywho, he was talking about how Breece Hall's commentary to the New York Post was, it is what it is. If I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'm not, basically. Like, he was super lukewarm on, hey, do you want to be here with the Jets long term? He went, yeah. But that's sort of the answer he gave. So, I know that's not going to make a lot of people happy. For sure. Dave Briga says tag and trade best scenario for both parties. I believe so. And again, it took me a while for my my peanut brain to wrap around the right proper tag for Breece, but it does seem like non-exclusive is the place that would allow him to negotiate with other teams. He could find the teams that are interested in him that'd be willing to give up draft capital to the Jets. The Jets work out the tag and trade with that team. Breece Hall would not play on the franchise tag with his new team. Part of the negotiation is Jets would need an asset. Let's call it a third-round pick. I don't know if that's what the Jets are going to want, but let's call it a third-round pick. And then once the Chiefs, we'll use the Chiefs because they wanted to trade for him. Chiefs say, Jets, we'll give you a third-round pick for Breece. They're like, all right. Now, Chiefs, you and Breece get in a room over there and try to work out a long-term deal. 3 years for $60 million, let's just say. It's not going to be that expensive, but let's say that's what it was. The Chiefs and Breece work that out. Chiefs come back to the Jets, say, hey, we got a deal lined up with Breece. You still ready to do it for that third-round pick? Jets say yes. Okay, tag and trade. Breece Hall is tagged. He gets traded to the Chiefs. The Chiefs give up a third-round pick to the Jets, and the Chiefs get Breece Hall on the brand-new contract. That's how, in theory, how it would work. Yes. Leon says, BG looks like someone who survived something. That's for sure. A lot of battle scars. I've lived quite a life. That is indeed true. Wow. NC Green says he hit the magical 70 number in October, right around our tailgate special. There you go. We'll answer a few more questions, and we'll be back on live at 11 o'clock for our Monday live show, the MC Show digital channel. We'll have that coming up. Kyle Brady. Ah, yes. Good Kyle Brady. Warren Sapp. We went Kyle Brady. Yeah. Yo Holmes says, after 4 years, we're still waiting for Breece to reach his full potential. Move along. Could be. I blame coaches on that a little bit, on Breece not reaching his full potential. But there is a path to moving on. Again, I would tag and trade to try to get something. Gator McCluskey says, Jets fans concerned about giving Breece less money than we gave Lazard. It is funny, right? The perceptions, right? Lazard got a 4-year deal for $44 million. Breece Hall, 3 years, $36 million is like, I don't know. Like, it is, I don't know. It is crazy, the wide receiver running back market. Leon says, teams that will entertain sign Breece: Cardinals, Texans, Titans, Chiefs. I think the Vikings will be in the mix, quite frankly. Who else? Yeah, I mean, this is a lot of the teams. Cardinals with Michael Floor could totally see. Texans with the Joe Mixon situation imploding. Titans, Robert Saleh could see that. Chiefs, for sure. There's a lot of teams. That's why I think the Jets would be able to tag and trade him to a team. Yeah, I think they would. Yes. I do believe so. NC Green says transition tag might be used to level set that teams will pay what teams will pay for a running back. Breece might be surprised about his market value. Now that's possible, right? The transition tag is somewhere, let's just call it $11.5 million. If the Jets transition tag him, teams can sign him to an offer sheet and they don't have to give up any draft capital. Would a team be willing to sign him to an offer sheet that is whatever? I imagine if it's 8, 9, 10, I think the Jets match it. We get to 11, 12, 13, then the Jets got to think about it, I guess. And would they be willing to go that high? Does it even get that high? To your point, do you put this out in the market and say, hey, we'll match an offer? And then Brees gets the offer and she's like, damn, I didn't get as much as I thought. Maybe. But I don't know, man. I feel like Brees would get a bag if he got to unrestricted free agency or transition tag, which is technically, basically free agency because the Jets would have the right of first refusal. But if someone gets creative with a contract, it could put them in a tough spot. Still the real AD would like Minkah Fitzpatrick. He is in trade talks right now. I'm curious if the Dolphins would trade him to us. We do need safety help, but I'm curious what the package is. Maybe it's just a salary dump so we could get him for cheap. If so, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good safeties out there, though. Delray Doc says, BG, Indy, Drew, Briga, Indy. I wish I could be more like you guys, so knowledgeable. I don't know about all that. I try to pretend to be knowledgeable. I hope you guys enjoy the content that I put out. Johnny Boy says, how much money to bring back the flight crew? Yeah, I don't know why they went away. I don't know. NC Green, I know Tyler Linderbaum will be expensive, but having an all-pro at center changes the line. Yeah, he is that level player. And our best years, remember, folks, were with Kevin Wire, Nick Mangold, God rest his soul. So, yeah, we've had some great teams when our center has been a superstar. Deborah says, do not trade Brees. Maybe this we tag and keep him. Yeah. Yeah. All right, everybody, why don't we do this? We're going to put a bow on this puppy. I want to shout out the 400 people in the room. If you enjoy the show or hate the show, really, either way, you can like the video on the way out. We have 126 people in the room. Make sure you guys like the video on YouTube. That helps get this Jet show in front of other Jet fans out there in the audience. So I'd appreciate it. We have 130 people in the room right now and 65 likes. So we have a bunch of people that can like the video. It's free to do. Make that a part of your routine. Every time you watch a show, just hit that like button here on the channel. Also, don't be afraid to hit subscribe, baby. I've mentioned it a few times. We're a handful of subscribers away from 8,400, quite frankly. Yeah, we're 3 away from 8,390, which means you're 13 away from 8,400. So hit that subscribe button, baby. We've got some big guests that'll be coming up on the show. Gator McCluskey, if you were picked for Survivor, what would you wear? Would you be the Jet version of Boston Rob? It's funny. I said that in one of my previous audition videos as a diehard Jets fan. Now, from what I've been told, Survivor has creative control basically over what you wear. So I hope they would allow me to wear my Jets because I'd love to represent them on the show for sure. So yes, but yeah, basically the New York version of Boston Rob, which maybe they wouldn't want because they wouldn't want like a copy aspect, even though that's totally different. But yes. Lou B says, I would boycott that show. We can't lose you in the morning, BG. Hell no, which is part of what I'll explain on Saturday. There was crazy circumstances for potentially being on that show. There was crazy circumstances. I'll have to explain it behind the Espresso Club wall of it's I can't say it publicly, but I'll explain what would have happened if I made this show. And some of you that enjoy Boy Green Daily may not have been a fan for a little bit. Yes. Of course, NY Jets fandom. Paul, shout out USA Hockey. Yeah, men's, women's, everything. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Gold, USA, USA. Beautiful. Yes. America. Let's spread all the love, of course, to USA Hockey. So I know, yeah, sorry I didn't do that to begin the show. I do love America. I want that to be very clear. So yes. That's awesome. So yes, absolutely. USA Hockey. Thank you, NY Jets fandom, for that reminder. Keep it simple, RC. Is this Brees Hall thing in the same ballpark as the Giants Saquon situation? The only difference is the Giants did slap the tag on Saquon once, and then they were considering doing it again. So there's a lot more tension, I guess. And also they had the 5th-year option. So Saquon didn't reach free agency as young as, or Brees hasn't reached free agency yet, but he wouldn't reach free agency as young as Brees potentially could because Saquon was a first-round pick, so he had a 5-year contract. 6-year franchise tag. 7th year could have been a franchise tag. He ended up going to the Eagles. So in Brees's case, non-first round picks, 4-year standard contract. So it could be 4-year to free agency if the Jets don't tag him. So he could be going, his 5th year could be on a new team. So it's slightly different. And then I imagine the heat isn't as much. There was a lot of heat build up with Saquon about how unhappy he was. Keep it simple, RC. So I'd say it's slightly different, but you can ask Manchild on the 11 o'clock show if he feels differently about it, for sure. Which is awesome. All right, everybody. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Again, we'll be back live at 11 o'clock here today. Tomorrow is a huge show. We're going to have a lot of NFL Combine coverage with special guests live at the Combine, so I hope you guys can be with us. That is, let me make sure I have my dates right. I believe it's Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll have a live Combine guest, at least one on Tuesday and Wednesday. There may be another one on Wednesday, too. And then we also, at the 3 o'clock Boy Green Meets Woody show on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, we will react to the Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji press conferences from the Combine. They speak at 1 o'clock and 1:15, respectively. So we will have that as well coming up this week. Yes, Jay Burek says, BG in a loincloth. Huh? You could have seen it. Who knows? Could you imagine? Yeah. Luby saying, Boy Green Coffee Club from the jungles of Fiji. Yeah, that could have been. Could have been. BG in a loincloth. Could have put that on a t-shirt. Would have been a good marketing opportunity. But alas, we'll see what happens. All right, everybody. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the program. We'll see you in a couple hours. Take care.